Good morning, all my lovely sports fans. I hope you've been styling and profiling, wheeling and dealing and swishing and dishing, because this is episode 6 of Boundin and Astoundin. And as you know, we always say active on the glass around here. Not a crazy, eventful week of sports outside of the Thursday night football game last night, which we will get into in a little bit. Let's just get right into it with box score watchers. So first off, I got Kelsey Mitchell of the Indiana Fever. She dropped 24 points on 57% from 3 and a steal and a block in an unfortunate loss to the Las Vegas Aces. But she looked phenomenal out there. I think Kelsey's been having a really underrated season. She's averaging just around 19.3 points a game. She's honestly not been the Fever's best player, like all the way around, but at points she has been for sure, and I think she's getting a little bit overshined by Caitlin. There's nothing wrong with that. Caitlin's having a phenomenal rookie season. She's been the best rookie we've seen since Candace Parker. I'm not entirely saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying I think she could deserve a little bit more of a shout, a little bit more recognition, because she's been having a phenomenal season, and she is absolutely a major reason that the Fever are where they are right now. That Aces game was so good, and we'll talk about Asia Wilson and all that stuff in a little bit here, because she's just incredible, but she's not the point right now. Kelsey Mitchell is. She had a great game. She's been having an absolutely phenomenal season. You could probably argue her for All-NBA second team, All-WNBA second team. I wouldn't be surprised if she makes it. She's just such a pure scorer. I mean, she can get to the basket. She can score on pretty much every level. I just love watching her game, and I hope she gets more recognition as the Fever continue to get better and better. And I think that her and Caitlin as a duo have a really good chance to make some noise in the playoffs, hopefully. I know I predicted them to get swept, but, you never know. Anything can happen, and when you got two guards like that on your team playing at the level that they are, you got a pretty good shot. So, shout out to Kelsey Mitchell. I hope she gets all the love and recognition that she deserves over these next 2 years playing alongside Caitlin. Yeah, she had a really good game. My next one comes from Thursday Night Football. James Cook had 11 carries for 78 yards, which is 7.8 yards a carry. Or excuse me, 7.1 yards a carry. Apparently I can't do math today. 7.1 yards a carry. He also had a reception for 17 yards and a touchdown to go along with his 2 rushing touchdowns. He pretty much put the Bills on his back last night. Josh Allen had a pretty good game, but he didn't even really need to do too much. I mean, James is just running all over that Miami defense. It's really insane that I think Sean McDermott literally just hates the Dolphins more than any Bills fan ever could, and just goes out of his way to absolutely punk them every time they play. I just keep seeing people talk about it. I think he just hates the way Mike McDaniels coaches. And it's not even a knock on Mike McDaniel. I just think that there's got to be some beef there, because the way he goes out of his way to not only beat them but embarrass the Dolphins anytime they play. And you can see it in the way the Bills players play when they're flying around on defense and taking heads off. I mean, it's kind of almost, I'd be pissed if I were a Dolphins fan letting us get smacked around like this. But no, they just played an all-around dominant game last night. Like I said, James Cook, he's another one of my favorite young running backs in the league right now. I think he's got such good potential. He's just got such good vision. That's his biggest thing, and his footwork is so nice. It's just he's one of those guys, when you watch him run, it's just beautiful to watch. He just runs so smooth. I just am very impressed with how he's been looking. I've been predicting that he was going to be a big, major piece for the Bills for the last couple of years now. So it's just really good to see him get a shine and just have a game like he did last night, because he can really do it all out of the backfield. And he's a perfect backfield mate with Josh Allen. So I'm glad he landed in Buffalo, and I'm glad he had a great game last night. He's going to continue to be great this season. I'm expecting a really, really big season from him, especially because the Bills don't have too many offensive playmakers right now, especially in terms of wide receivers. So I think they're going to lean a lot more on their running game than they have in recent years, and I think it's going to be big for him. So the next one, I got Brent Rooker from the the Las Vegas Athletics now. That's so disgusting, and I hate it still to this day. But that's a whole other conversation. Brent Rooker, Wednesday night against Houston in a dub. You went 2 for 5, 2 RBIs on 2 hits. Him and JJ Bledé have just been super, super good as a 2-3 punch. It's honestly kind of crazy. And I know the A's aren't like incredible right now. They're what 68 and 83, I think. Yeah. Obviously nothing to write home about, but they look a lot better than they did last season. They don't look like the absolute dumpster fire like 12-win team they were last year. And they at least have some hope because they got a nice solid middle of the lineup. If they can continue to kind of build on some momentum over these next like end of the season to this next season, I mean, I'm not saying they're going to win or their division or anything like that soon, but there's pieces in place and they look like they have a chance to at least be a competent franchise again. So that's really good to see. And Brent Rooker is just one of my favorite underrated guys in the league. I just think he doesn't get nearly enough shout. I believe he hit home run 30 last night or 2 nights ago. He's just a great hitter. All around solid dude. I just like watching him play. So shout out to Brent Rooker. And then my last one, I have Courtney Williams of the Minnesota Lynx. On Monday, I said that the key for the Dream winning that game was going to be to shut down the Fisa Collier. And they kind of sort of did. She shot under 50% and only scored 14 points. But the rest of the team all around had a really good game, especially Courtney. She had 12, 7, and 7 on 55% shooting. That Lynx team is just so well-rounded, and Courtney is, if she can continue to play like this whenever the Fisa is having an off night, it's going to be really, really hard to beat the Lynx, especially since they're the best defensive team in the league, and she is a major contributor to that. Her defense was phenomenal all night long, and it has been all season. And if the Lynx go far and make a really good run, I won't be shocked because they just play their asses off on defense, and it's really fun to watch. So, shouts to Courtney. It was a very solid game, and pretty much the reason they won. So, yeah, those are my box score watches for the week. It's been an interesting week of sports. So let's get into the Bills game. So like I said, the Bills just kind of seem to own the Dolphins right now. I just think Sean McDermott literally has some personal vendetta against Mike McDaniel, and as I don't know what he says in the locker room before the game and during halftime to fire those boys up, but it goes through every time. I remember I even said, yeah, I think this will be the year that the Dolphins finally take the division from the Bills. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be true. And unfortunately, it's probably because I don't know if Tua is going to end up finishing the season. And if he does, I pray that it's his last, honestly. And that's the main thing I want to talk about with Tua right now. As a former football player, now I played cornerback, so I was never if I were gonna get a concussion or any sort of head trauma, I would have had to go out of my way and be running into plays with my head straight down. Because outside of that, I'm not really dealing with a lot of head trauma the way that quarterbacks and guys in the trenches are. But even then, it's still such a scary thing to see, especially when he's gotten to the point where he loses control of his bodily functions and his limbs and stuff. I just don't know. 4 concussions in 2 years is an absurd amount, and we've seen what the extreme ends of CTE can look like and how it affects just even players in our league. You go back a couple years ago and see how Antonio Brown's career phased out and how he literally left on the field because he was essentially losing his mind, and the person that he was essentially gone. The AEB that we know today is a completely different human being from the guy that came into the NFL. And I just think that for Tua's sake, he needs to heavily, heavily consider it. And if he hasn't already come to a decision by now, I would be shocked. I feel like by that point, that's one of those things where you immediately know, that has to be it. At least and I know, I can't imagine how hard that would have to be to step away like that at such a young age, but I was talking to some friends about it. He's a father. He has a family. And if he wants to be able to continue to like support that family, not only that, but be there for his family and be the man that he wants to be for his family and still be the man he is today for his family, then because this is no joke. CTE is so extremely serious, and I don't like bringing it up because it's an extreme. It is the very extreme end of the spectrum, and I'm not saying that Tua is anywhere close to this. But when you have a situation like the Chris Benoit situation, I mean, it's just you see how far it can erode your mind and did I say degrade your mind. I think I mixed up erode and degrade. Anyways, it's just I don't know how he could possibly continue because one more, two more, and who knows how his brain is going to be functioning. If it's gonna really be functioning at all, honestly. And I maybe am being, I don't know, I don't think I am being overdramatic about this. Andrew Luck retired for essentially the same reasons, and he was nowhere close to what we've seen. He just knew that his own mind and his own body and his own health were more important than this game. Tua's made his money. He got his extension. If the Dolphins wanted to pay out his contract and let him retire, I would absolutely do that. Because at that point, we're talking about human beings and real lives here. I know it's really easy to forget sometimes when we're watching these players on a screen and, they're making millions and millions of dollars to play a kid's game, but it really, really dehumanizes them in some ways to people. And they're just people to win you fantasy leagues and make you money on your prop bets. But we're dealing with real human beings here, and we're dealing with a sport that seriously deteriorates a human's brain. And I care deeply about pretty much every player in the NFL on a personal human level. Like, these people provide us entertainment and joy constantly. And more than anything, I just want them to be happy and healthy. And if that means Tua has to step away from football for good, then that's probably what's best for him right now. And it's a shitty conversation to have. It's not a fun one to have. It's a scary one to talk about. And I wish more former players would feel more comfortable talking about it. But I can't even imagine like being an NFL player for that long. Like a guy like Shannon Sharp, or even RG3, like it's hard. It's hard to bring up and it's hard to really come to grips with because you think, how have I been affected by that? Like, how could have I been affected by that? How are my kids going to be affected by that if they decided to play football? And me, football's my favorite sport. It's been my favorite sport for years and years and years, and it's my everything, basically. I mean, it consumes my every daily being. Like, everything I do pretty much revolves around football. I love it. I don't know if I'd let my kids play football at this point. And again, I might be slightly overreacting, but it's a conversation we have to have because logically, and this was something I was talking about with my friend Devin earlier, with how much trauma comes from this sport, the logical thing to do would be to stop playing the sport altogether. Like, the NFL wouldn't exist anymore. But that's never going to happen, and that's also not a realistic expectation or a realistic way of handling things. So it's either that or find ways to get safer, and they're trying, and it's somewhat working, but at the end of the day, there's only so many things that you can work to prevent, and if my kids come to me and say they want to play football, I'll let them play, but they're playing flag football up until 5th or 6th grade. They will not be playing tackle football at least until middle school. Because the risks far outweigh the rewards at times. And as much as I want to see Tua come back healthy and play more football and lead the Miami Dolphins to the playoffs, I think that he needs to put his own health and safety and his family first, or else it's just going to get it's going to go places that I don't even want to think about. And I just really, really hope he realizes that his mental health and his brain's like physical composition essentially is much more important than any game of football. So praying for Tua. I really, really hope he's okay. I hope his family is there to support him through it all. I really appreciate how poignant and just how much Mike McDaniel cares for his players. You can really tell that he's hurting for Tua, and I think he handled the whole situation really well. I just hope he's okay, and just hope Tua's doing all right. I hope he's with his family, and all I can do is offer up my prayers and condolences, and I just hope he makes the right decision and the one that's best for his health and his family. All right, let's get into some WNBA now. I'm super happy and very excited with where the league is at right now. We're starting to get into, playoff hunt and all that stuff, and the MVP race is winding down. It's very unanimously Asia Wilson, everybody, just we all know. I wanted to talk about it because, so first of all, Arike Mbugawale officially broke the Dallas Wings all-time scoring record with 3,972 total points scored in her career already. She, like I mentioned before, she's probably my favorite non-Liberty in the league. She's just absolutely, oh my gosh, the purest of pure hoopers I've maybe ever seen across any like male or female. Her game is like comparable to Kyrie and just how shifty she is, and just not only shifty, but like, I don't even know if evasive is the right word. Just her game is poetry in motion. That's the only way I can describe it. She just moves so smooth out there. Just watching her play is like watching art. And I'm very happy that she broke the record, and I'm very happy that all these fans are coming in at a time in the league where we're just watching absolute dominance across the league. Because you tune into any game, and there's so many players doing so many just electrifying things and breaking records on any given night. Whether it's Caitlin, whether it's Angel, whether it's Asia, whether it's Nafisa, it doesn't matter. If you tune in anywhere, the league, in terms of talent, is the best it's probably ever been. And the games are some of the most exciting they've ever been. And it's just a beautiful thing to see. And I'm not even going to, Caitlin and Angel deserve a lot of the credit for the fan base coming in. But the rest of the league deserves to have all of their flowers shown, because all of these fans are coming in at a time where women's hoops is currently at its peak, and it's only going to continue to get better and better and better. And I don't think it's going to peak here and boom. It's just going to keep going and going and going. We're on the rise right now in women's hoops, and it just makes me very happy that all these fans are joining now to see this stuff. Because when you have someone like Arike, who's only, I think this is her 7th season now, and she's already broken the Wings all-time scoring record, she's not going to slow down either. I mean, it's just so incredible to see this on a night-to-night basis, because women's hoops deserves to be appreciated more than it is, and I'm just very glad that all these fans are coming in now to see it. Because, oh my gosh, and she didn't really have an amazing game. They lost to the Liberty. The Wings are not a good team right now. But even in her 11 points on 3 for 13 shooting, you still see, like, she is just such an electrifying scorer. And when I say she can get it done at all 3 levels, she can get it done at all 3 levels. And her playmaking ability is super underrated, too. I don't think she gets a lot of credit for that. She can just have such a good mix of playmaking and scoring. She knows when to make the right reads, when to attack, when not to. And I just really wanted to give her flowers because she's just such a hooper. I know I keep saying that, but she really is. She's your favorite hooper's favorite hooper. That's the only way I can put it. Man, I love her, and I'm just super happy for her. And not only that, she's not the only one who broke her record last night. Asia Wilson officially broke the WNBA record for single season scoring after Jewel Lloyd set it with 938 last year. Asia came right over the top with 941 the other night and is probably going to completely shatter it. She is very, very close to hitting 1,000. I'm praying she hits it. That would be really incredible to see. And I saw a thread from Nikias Duncan just going over her dominance this year. And if you don't follow Nikias Duncan on Twitter, go do it now. He's incredible. Go watch the Dunker Spot pod with him and Steve Jones Jr. It's my favorite basketball podcast outside of Numbers on the Board. Um, they just do such a good job over there. Their breakdowns are stuff I can only strive to get into, and they're just basketball knowledge is through the charts. So please go check both of them out. Anyways, he had a whole thread breaking down just how not only dominant scoring wise, but having one of the best defensive seasons we've ever seen, one of the most efficient scoring seasons we've ever seen. She is, I think, the gap between her and between her and second in terms of efficient field goal percentage, or effective field goal percentage, is like as wide as the gap from second to seventh or something like that. It's ridiculous. It's because not only is she doing this on crazy volume, she's doing it on crazy efficiency. And again, it's just another thing that I'm really, really happy that we're getting all these fans in at the right time to not only witness, oh my gosh, Caitlin and Angel in the league, and they're going to dominate. We already have players in the league who are so phenomenally just destroying this game and flipping it on its head. And they're getting all the love and recognition that they deserve because all these fans are in here now. And I'm really glad because they've come at the perfect time. And I'm just very, very happy that this league is going to continue to grow and expand. They're selling out games. They're packing the arenas. I'm so excited for the WNBA playoffs. I think the atmosphere is going to be through the roof. There's just so many good players in this league who deserve to get the love and respect they've been pining for years. And it really just makes me so happy that they're finally getting it and they're finally seeing that they deserve all of the attention, all of the recognition, all of the awards, all of the money that the men are making. And that this isn't just some offshoot project for the NBA to try to pump money into. This is a legit league with legit players playing legit basketball, and they deserve all of their flowers. Shout out to Aja Wilson. She is the most dominant basketball player in the league. She's the most dominant WNBA player I've ever seen. And she's just one of the most dominant basketball players I've ever seen, period. Again, like I said, Arike is one of the best scorers I've seen across men and women. Asia could probably play in the NBA. I don't know how many teams wouldn't like for instance, would you rather have Asia Wilson on your team and let's go with the Knicks. Their 10th man right now is Shake Milton. You think if Asia Wilson right now were like, hey, I'll take his spot, they would immediately be like, fuck yeah, obviously. And she would be able to play and she would be able to hoop. And I thoroughly believe that. I'm not saying every WNBA player could, but there are a very good amount, a very solid amount that could definitely translate and definitely play against the men and be just as successful. And I just think it's so beautiful to see. And I just want to give them all of their love and all of their recognition because I love this sport and all of its forms. And when people are playing at such a high level, they deserve the recognition. So shout out to Arike and shout out to Asia. I hope they continue to prove their greatness and assert their dominance because, man, this league is in such a good place right now. All right, next up, the Pac-12 is back, y'all. I don't know if you saw this. I was super excited to see this announcement because I thought we were going to be done with the Pac-12 forever, honestly. I never thought I'd see the day. But Fresno State, Boise State, Colorado State, and San Diego State have all officially announced that they will be joining the Pac-12 in 2025, 2026, I think. And I could not be happier. I think those are 4 great programs to be bringing in. If they don't bring in like Hawaii and Wyoming to keep some of the rivalries alive, I'll be really, really sad. Also, I mean, I'm a little biased with my Rainbow Warriors. I'm saying bias, like I'm not just running a dynasty with them on college football, like I actually. Well, no, I am. I'm a Hawaii Rainbow Warriors fan now because of college football 25. I'm a Hawaii Rainbow Warriors fan, not more than a Mizzou fan or a Kentucky fan, but Hawaii Rainbows Warriors fan nonetheless. So I hope they get brought into, because also they just have a good football program, and their stadium is sick. Those are my only. I just like Hawaii, and I think it'd be a good team to bring in. Same with Wyoming; they've always had a good football program, and I think they would be another team that deserves to be in. And I think probably 8 teams right now is a good place to start in rebuilding it. I think 6 is too few, so I think they should definitely bring in 2 more. I don't know how long it will take them to like build up their programs to be like legit Power Five. Because I don't even know if they'll be considered a Power Five conference necessarily at first. I don't know how that's gonna work. Because in my brain, Pac-12 is still like it's not a Power Four. It's still a Power Five to me. Um, but it's gonna be a little different when you're bringing in these smaller D1 schools, and they have to build up recruiting. But I mean, when they're only competing against like Washington State and Oregon State in conference, I mean, they're going to be the big dogs on the West Coast for the Pac 12. So, I mean, I think it's a very, very good choice to bring all these teams in. They're all solid football programs. I really hope Colorado State comes out and beats Colorado this weekend, and just makes a big old statement. So that'd be pretty cool to see. And honestly, it would be hilarious if like Colorado got dropped out of the Big 12 for being so bad, which was never, ever, ever going to happen. I'm being very facetious there. But, I'm just very excited for the Pac 12 to be back. I'm still in shock, honestly. I just never thought that. I really thought that eventually, like, Washington State and Oregon State were going to leave, and that was just going to be that. And I was even like, right, bye bye, Pac 12. But we're so fucking back. Pac 12 After Dark is so fucking back. Excuse my language. I'm just so excited. I love the Pac 12, and I'm very glad that they made a decision to move forward with these teams because I think they're going to have a pretty solid, quick turnaround, and I think they can build up these squads pretty nicely. I just think this is really good for college football. Pac 12 makes it better, so I'm very excited to see it back. Next up, we got matchup previews. My first one is tonight's game. Kansas State, who's ranked 14, versus Arizona, who's ranked 20. This is the first first Big 12 meeting for Arizona. Very interested to see how it goes, how they adjust to Big 12 football. I think they'll fit in just fine, but it's going to be interesting to see how this team goes up against a squad like Kansas State, because Arizona historically has always been a very solid offensive team, and they looked pretty darn good last week. But K-State's got a very stout defense. They always have. And I'm just interested to see how they respond to a K-State team that might come out and punch them in the mouth a little bit. I really like K-State's quarterback, Avery Johnson. He's finally getting some more freedom to play more to his strengths. I wish they would let him get out of the pocket a little more, and hopefully they let him do that in this game. But he's a very solid quarterback. He's going to have a pretty good game, I feel, and as long as they, let him play to his strengths, because he can move. He's real mobile. And if they let him play outside of the pocket a little bit more and use his legs to his advantage, I think it's going to be a very, very dangerous game for Arizona. Hopefully their offense can keep up. Although they were 0 for 10 on third downs last week, so I'm going to be very interested to see how that goes against, like I said, a very, very stout K-State defense. But regardless, this is going to be a good matchup. These are two very solid teams and their first ever meeting as Big 12 opponents. So yeah, I think I'm going to go with K-State. K-State winning by 2 scores. We're going to go 28-14. We'll go fairly reasonable here. 28-14 K-State. My next one. Oh, what did I have? Let me look at my notes here, y'all. Excuse me, this is bad podcasting. Oh yes, Washington State. In their first ever game outside of the Pac-12 rivalry, which makes me sad. And honestly, I low-key think that maybe, I don't know, I'm probably being a little bit too ambitious here. I feel like teams like Washington and maybe not Oregon, but maybe I feel like Arizona is one of those teams that after a couple of years, if they're not as successful in their respective new conferences as they think, they might come crawling back to the Pac-12. I don't know how realistic that is, and maybe that's just my college football brain realigning conferences for no reason, but I could see it happening to where some movement happens within the next 5, 10 years if the Pac-12 ends up like really reestablishing themselves as a legit, real conference with real competition. I could certainly see not the entire conference coming back, but some of the underperformers to maybe think, maybe this was a bad idea and go back. Again, I'm not really sure how real that would be, but it's just something that I think has a potential chance of happening. Anyways, having this rivalry outside of the Pac-12 is very weird and very yucky to me. Um, I think Washington's going to stomp out Washington State. Um, that's not true at all, actually. I don't believe that at all. I think it's going to be a very, very heated, very close game. Washington State has their number recently, too. They beat them, I want to say, twice in the last 4 years, if I'm not mistaken. So it's always a shit show between those two teams. You really never know what's going to happen, even if it's not Pac-12 football. In spirit, it's still Pac-12 football, so I think it's going to be a real exciting back and forth slugfest of the game. That's another one I'm looking forward to. In the NFL, I had Packers Colts as one of them. That's going to be a real good game. I love this Packers team. I know I've already mentioned that I think they have a real good chance to make the Super Bowl this year. They looked just about as good as I would have expected them to last week. Jaden Reed. All right, so I know I said that I have no idea who the Packers' number one wide receiver is going to be. It's Jaden Reed. It's for sure going to be Jaden Reed. Him and Jordan Love's chemistry is mind melding. 133 yards and 2 touchdowns last Sunday. He's just so damn good. I was not expecting this at all. I mean, he had a great rookie season last year, but to come out firing like that week one, it was just really impressive. And Josh Jacobs looked great in their offense, as I expected. It's just a really, really solid Packers team going up against a really, really solid Colts team. And I know that they've got some issues to work out here, but and by some issues, I mean Anthony Richardson's short accuracy. But I mean, when he can throw 60 yards just straight shooting from the hip to Alec Pierce, who cares, right? Like, kid's got an absolute arm. He's got an absolute cannon attached to his shoulder. And I just think this is going to be a great quarterback duel to watch, and I'm very excited to see how it plays out. They both got really solid defenses. DeForest Buckner is an absolute game wrecker. I think him, and we are going to go with Devondre Campbell. Him and Devondre Campbell are going to be the two keys to the game, both defensive players for each team. I've always loved Devondre. He's just such a solid linebacker. Another one of a game wrecker. He's just really good all around. He can play in coverage, whether it's man or zone. He can play up at the line of scrimmage. He's just a real solid piece for that defense, a real solid foundational piece. And I think it's going to come down to two defenses trying to slow down these two high-powered offenses and quarterbacks who are starting to really get into their groove and look comfortable as they continue to get older and into their careers. I'm really excited to see how Anthony Richardson progresses. He's shooting up my list of favorite quarterbacks already. Like I said, I mean, his arm talent is through the roof. And when it comes to the stuff like the short stuff, like the short accuracy, middle of the field accuracy, that all comes with time and proper scheming. When you have a guy or a coach who's not making a lot of play calls across the middle of the field or in the short range, I'm not really as stressed when you're not making them as much because your just volume isn't as high, so you're not used to making those throws in game time scenarios. So the more he gets repetition in and the more play calls he gets in that, I think it's going to be perfectly fine. I'm not concerned. Plus, he's just so mobile. He could make any play out of the pocket. And he's just such a fun watch. And this Colts team has pieces all up and down. The receiving core of Michael Pittman, Adonai Mitchell, and Josh Downs for him is just real, real fun. If JT stays around, I really hope he does and continues to be a consistent, good, solid running back. Their offense is pretty much set for the most part. And you still got Quentin Nelson back there blocking it for him, who is my favorite lineman in the league still to this day. He's the best. And I just think this is a real solid team and a really dysfunctional AFC South outside of the Texans. So anything could happen. I think they have a chance to maybe make some noise this year. My noise are really just me making like a small wild card berth and going from there. But that would be a lot for this Colts team right now. Um, I think I'll still predict the Packers to win this one, but I do really like this Colts team. And again, keys of the game: Devondre Campbell of the Packers and DeForest Buckner of the Colts. So I'm gonna go Packers win 20-17. They win on a game-winning field goal. That's my prediction. And then my other NFL game. Oh no, sorry, bad podcasting again. Yes, Bucks Lions. Bucks Lions. Two solid teams and a little bit of what could be some type of a maybe divisional playoff preview. I'm really happy for Baker Mayfield. He's always been one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league. I hate that I had to like forcefully dislike him for a couple years since he was a Brown. But him having his career revitalization in Tampa has been amazing to see. He deserves all of what he's getting right now. And he's just got a solid team around him. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are maybe the two most consistent wide receivers in the league. And Rashad White, I really did not expect him to break out the way he did last year and continue to break out and like keep that pace this year. But he has, and it makes me very happy to see. Todd Bowles is a very solid coach. This defense could use a little bit of work in certain areas, but they just overall, I like this team. The NFC South is completely up for grabs, so I can easily see them just taking the division again, making a wild card game, and then maybe making some noise in the divisional too. The Lions, I just really, 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 really love Jahmyr Gibbs. I know I probably talk about him all the time, and I remember raving about him. I think it was episode 2, where I would just not shut up about him. But I mean, he might end up being the best running back in the league within the next 3 to 5 years. It'll be him and Devon A-Chain fighting for the one spot, I feel like. He's just got so much talent. I just love watching his game. Him, Amon-Ra, and Laporta are such a crazy offensive trio to have. I just don't know who else in the NFC outside of the Packers, honestly, have a real... Well, I mean, the 49ers, yeah. It's really those three. It's the 49ers, the Packers, and the Lions, who I think have the best chances of coming out of the NFC. And this team just continues to get better and buy into the culture that Dan Campbell is establishing. And this defense looks a lot improved from last year and the year before that, to where they were a little bit of a liability, yeah. So it just makes me happy to see that they've really just bought into this culture that Campbell's trying to establish, and they are really making good strides as a football team. And Jared Goff is, I don't say the perfect quarterback for that team, but he fits the system well enough to where they're winning football games, and that's all that matters. So this is going to be a really good slugfest of just two good offenses just going at it. I'm going to go Bucks. I'm going to pull for the Bucks in this one to win 27-21. 27-21 Bucks is my prediction. I think the two keys to the game will be Carlton Davis and we'll go with Jameson Williams. I think Jameson Williams is going to need to have another pretty solid game. I think they're going to be really focused on Amon-Ra. I don't think Amon-Ra is going to have a bad season or anything like that, but after week 1, I think he's going to want to try to bounce back, and he'll have more targets and more receptions, but I think J-Mo is going to be the guy that's going to have another big game and continue to add on to this breakout season. I've been rooting for J-Mo ever since he came out of Bama. He's just so speedy. He can fly up and down the field. He's a perfect complement to a guy like Amon-Ra, who operates more out of the slot and is more in his intermediate, shallow stuff. He can be such a good deep threat for them. And a threat out of the backfield, too, when they're using him in reverses and stuff like that. So I think he's going to have a really big game, and I think he's going to be the key to the Lions winning. Or if the Lions want to win. But yeah, that's my prediction. Bucks win 27-21. Two keys, Carlton Davis and Jameson Williams. So yeah, those are the matchup previews, and that's pretty much all I have for sports this week. It was, like I said, fairly uneventful, nothing too crazy happening. We're getting into that weird point of like the summer stuff is dying down and playoffs are about to start, and then the season has just started for college football and NFL. So it's just that weird period of like almost everything's like firing, but it's like also kind of in a lull because you're in that end of the season like slug where you're like, oh, all right, let's get to the playoffs now. The bad teams are bad. The good teams are pretty much all set for the playoffs for the most part. It's just all about the wild card races at that point. Um, so that's why I'm really excited for October when everything really starts kicking into gear and we really start ramping stuff up. But yeah, I think that's all the sports stuff I got for today. So I just got one last thing for today. It's a little bit of music talk. So one of my new favorite R&B artists, Leon Thomas, who released his album Electronic Dusk last year, it absolutely blew me away. He's coming out with a new album called Mutt on September 27th, and oh my god, I'm so excited for it. Electronic Dusk was just like perfection from top to bottom. Fade to Black is still just on repeat in my head all the time. Same with Crash and Burn. His voice is just so soulful and just, oh my gosh, it brings a man to tears truly. He's just super super talented. And his new song Mutt is also really really good. It's one of the lead singles for the album called Mutt, obviously. And oh my god, I'm just really excited to see where he goes with this one because the last one was so like it was very R&B and very slow, but like the name implies, there was that like a little electronic feel to it, and it was just really cool. It was a very different take on a typical R&B album, and I just love listening to it. It's still in my rotation to this day, and I'm very excited to see what he does with this next one. It's just his voice speaks to me. I think is the best way I can describe it. It's just so beautiful, and I'm very excited to see what this next album looks like. So yeah, everybody should go check out Electronic Dusk as soon as possible and listen to it as many times as possible before the album comes out. And then check out Mutt by Leon Thomas coming out on September 27th because I think it's going to be a very, very good album and I am very excited to listen to it. I know that was really short and my only little thing for music today, but didn't have a ton to talk about today. Hope everybody enjoyed the episode. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Shoot me an email at some point. I'm still waiting on my first one. I promise you, if you send me an email, I will read your takes on the show, and we'll do a whole segment. We'll do a whole thing about it. So please, need some participation. It'd make me very happy. I want to be able to build this community and have fun with it, and have fun with you guys and talk sports. So, any comments, any emails would be greatly appreciated. So. Keep coming and keep checking out the work, y'all. I really appreciate all the views, all the likes, and everything. Like I said, every episode, it means a lot to me. I just want to keep continuing to grow and build this community. So, like and subscribe and all that good stuff. I will catch you guys on Monday. Enjoy this week of sports. And remember, we always stay active on the glass around here, y'all. See you Monday.